Hello, Gears and Gaming fans. Welcome to the Gears Intel podcast, a Gears of War fan show bringing you all things Gears and Gears of War adjacent. As I wrote that this morning, I realised the word Gears is in there far too much and I need to adjust that somehow. So, yeah, stay tuned for a different one.
Hello, Gears and Gearsing fans.
Yeah.
And welcome to Gears Tale.
Yeah. I am your host, KDB. But as always, I'm not alone. I'm joined by my fellow squad members. First up, fresh off another full trip around the sun and ready for another trip deep into the Coghole. It's David Smiley. Hello, David.
I'm ready. I've got my gloves on. You know, like one of those, like what do you call them? Elbow length gloves that you can stick up a cow's backside. Yeah. That's what I'm ready for, to
Good.
Delve deep into the Coghole.
To
pull out your news for you.
Christ.
To pull out your shitty news.
Yeah. I know a lady doth never reveal her age. What are you, 36?
Me, yes. That's me.
So,
Wrong side.
Do you remember when we were on our way back
now.
from Aberdeen once to my house and you had to check your passport to remember how old you were?
Yeah, as soon as I got to 27, I've sort of just periodically
You weren't 27 then.
age.
We were still at uni. He's like 24, I think.
Listen, I've had many times where I've forgotten how old I am and I have to count from the years. I don't know why that happens. I'm terrible.
I just had 3 to my sister's age, so you know.
Oh yeah, it's easy for you. Yeah. So yes, you've heard his voice already. Also joining us today, when not splitting in half Locust or Swarm with his Lancer bayonet, he can be found beating off to the tune of the locomotion in Donkey Konga. It's Alex Aldridge. Hello, Alex.
Wow, that is so accurate. It's scary. Even though it sounded really scary in the build-up, no, it was just fine.
It's the only way you can get off these days is if someone stands at the back of your bedroom beating the Donkey Kong drums. It's the only way you can get going, I've heard. Rumour has it.
Yeah, it takes a lot these days. I'm a tired man.
I may or may not have been the man with Donkey Kong drums at one point in my life.
So it's
during those dark days.
So what's it?
I don't know where they are.
Oh, you need to find them. We need a video for
I tried the loft and they weren't up there. They must be at my parents' house. They've been beating off my on my drums without me.
They've been making use,
They should know better at their age. Can I also point out as well that I am like repping the latest shirt from Hunger Club, which I actually heard about from your First Aid Spray show.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The new Resi 4 shit. If you want to do some gear stuff and sponsor the pod, lads,
we need some sponsors.
I will wear it.
Yeah, I'll wear pretty much anything. So yeah, send it our way.
Hunger Club is the tits.
I'm actually wearing a T-shirt for Luigi, but not of Mario Brothers fame. Luigi, my buddy Lou, who I do the Two Carrots podcast with. It's unbelievable. You think, why does this guy have merch? What, sort of,
It's good merch.
Yeah. Elitist, arrogant prick. But it's not that. It was for a good cause.
Narcissistic son of a bitch.
100% of the profits went to a charity thing. And, so that's why I'm wearing that. So, yeah, well done, Lou.
What a lovely lad.
Yeah, what a lovely
David,
lad.
you got anything to be shameless about this morning?
Nothing yet.
No.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Go on, tell us what you bought yesterday. On your trip to the
So I haven't checked my phone since I left for the gym. Have you replied to my text?
I said I'm in. That's all I said. I am in.
So I found this game when I was to fill our little listeners in. I got there's a sort of local games shop that sells like retro games and things like that. So I got a little voucher for that for my birthday. So off I toddled to go spend my voucher yesterday. And as I was poring over the shelves, one of the games that I came across was for the PS1. It's a game called Chase the Express. Viewers will be able to see it. And it was a game that I've never heard of before. So I had a look at it and I was sort of reading the back and it was like, this looks and sounds like a Resident Evil game. So I think I'm going to have to buy this to take a look. And I got home and I started I've read the manual now and I was watching some videos last night and it appears to be a sort of old school Resident Evil game with tank controls set on a train but with the story of Under Siege 2. And I am so excited to play it now. It just looks really cool.
It's I'm going to go through every single game on the shelf, because why would you even looked at that?
I was just so basically I just go through every game on the shelf when I arrive.
Right, okay.
And
that's incredibly
what I do is I go in with, say, like I had my 50 quid voucher and I was like, right, I've got £50 to spend, and I was you basically run through the maths. You're like, right, I want that, that's that much, and then you're like, right, I'm running out of money. I've got X pound 50 net left. What can I get for that? And this was one that popped up, and I was like, this is so intriguing, and it's also a platinum, which means it's sold 1 million copies, and which makes me stunned that I've never heard of this game.
I don't even know who the developer is. I tried to look on the picture.
Sugar and Rockets.
Yeah. So I'll read the back of the box. Just this is what sold it to me. The Blue Harvest military, a military train developed by NATO, has been hijacked by terrorists. Military bodyguard Jack Morton, having narrowly escaped death in the terrorist attack, sneaks inside the Blue Harvest in a solo bid to take back control of the train. It just looks amazing. I don't know why I've never heard of this. Cannot wait to give it a go.
Give it
so
a
you may
stream.
see it see it pop up on a stream or
definitely.
a Winners You podcast near you soon.
If he ropes me in, then the latter is a guarantee.
Excuse me. Well, I mean, I'd be keen to know how that is. But today's episode is a little bit different. We're not diving into any specific Gears of War media. This is a bit of a... I almost was going to call this a State of Xbox thing, but then I realised State of Play is like a Sony thing, and that's kind of infringing on like branding and stuff like that. So, but yeah, there's been a lot of Xbox news recently, so we just wanted to have kind of a general catch up and then kind of angle it round this question, something which we briefly touched on in episode 1, which was, does Xbox need a Gears of War Marcus Fenix collection? Because it's been a very up and down time for Xbox recently. If you're into gaming and gaming news, you will have known. But before we get to some of our talking points today, guys, what are you playing? Alex, what are you playing right now? Let's do some gameplay talk.
I mean, you can probably guess.
I can.
Yeah. So, obviously, like pretty much everybody in the world, apparently, I'm playing Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which I know David got for his birthday, and I saw him come online on Switch last night very briefly, and it was Valkyria Chronicles, which I'm assuming is just because you had that open the last time you played your Switch.
Yeah, I turned it on to download Zelda. You made a really odd
decision to don't want to play Zelda, actually. I forgot about this one.
No, I turned it on to download Zelda.
I would say that Tears of the Kingdom is a weird mix of like untethered infinite creativity and relentless aimlessness mixed together, because every time I've put it on, I've just been like, I don't know where I'm even going. Mm-hmm. Everything seems miles away, and I just think I can't really get up in the sky. I don't really know. I know you're supposed to are you supposed to just rewind the little things that fall down and go up that way? I don't know if there's a more like definitive way to get up there later on, but I just keep kind of walking about, finding caves or bandit camps and stuff. I'm usually just getting my ass handed to me. Died so many times. Yeah,
it's I'm also playing it. Yeah. I'm very similar to you and kind of share the sentiment. I had kind of very little hype for Tears of the Kingdom. I played Breath of the Wild and thought it was an awesome game, but everything I'd seen in the lead up to Tears of the Kingdom, I just kind of thought, this just looks exactly the same. Do I want to replay the same game? And it's got those new fundamental gameplay mechanics which make it fun and fresh. But like you, I think for the last 3 nights I've been heading to one place, but I'm still not there because I'm just sort of distracted, or it's taking me too long because I'm doing lots of other little different things. I'm definitely enjoying it. But it's like fun aimlessness, if you like. I played it again this morning.
Yeah, of course. It's so chill. Yeah. Like you can just sit there and just be like, I could quite easily watch a film while I do this.
Yeah,
because I'll get one of them wing things and just let it take me across the map until it inexplicably breaks.
Yeah, I was and this morning I was actually playing it with my son, and he was very kind of like. It's just blows his mind, the stuff that you can do in that game. Whereas I'm like, oh, this is really cool and really fun, but it really, really blows his mind. It adds a nice dynamic sometimes playing it with your kid. But yeah, definitely enjoying it. Runs like ass, but it's fine.
God, yeah. It is miserable to play, really. If you cared about that above all else, you'd not ever have a fun time.
Yeah,
I actually do think the 30 FPS doesn't really feel like a 30 FPS game. The way that if you stuck a 360 game on and put it, played your old free, that would definitely feel that way. This doesn't, but yeah, when it drops below 30, then it's rough, really rough.
When it drops below 30, which is like all the time. But,
just turning the camera around will do it.
Yeah, and as you said, like if you care about that stuff, I mean, the game is lucky that it's so good because you can just kind of overlook it and still enjoy it, and it's still a great game, and it's not.
It's definitely like polished in almost every other regard, though.
Yeah.
There's no bugs in it. I haven't seen any glitches or anything, and the physics engine is so robust to deal with this ingenious amount of stuff that you can do. Like how they came up with this system and made it so workable in so many scenarios. Like I saw something yesterday. Like if you put if you fuse one of those red bomb things, the red barrels to your shield, and then try and do a shield surf on it, you do like a like a Quake rocket jump.
Yeah. And
you can fuse a Minecraft to your shield and turn it into a skateboard.
Yeah, that thing you were talking about,
unbelievable,
with the bomb. We might have watched the same video. Somebody said that happens in the Zelda anime as well. So it's like recreating.
Yeah, that was Zeltic, right?
Yeah.
He's a really good YouTuber, and those videos are anyone who's playing it is not really figured it out just yet. Yeah. His like ZELTIK. Yeah. He's got 2 videos with like 15 tips for beginners, like right at the beginning of the game. They are so worth watching, as is zeldabuilds.gg, which is a website that basically has ways, it just has like almost like a recipe cookbook of builds that you can do. Interesting stuff. Shows you how to build anything from like a pickup truck to, I don't know, like a mech. It's like or a Segway and stuff. It's crazy. That's the thing that bothers me the most about it, is that I feel stupid. I feel uncreative playing it. Like I said, it just feels like I'm relentlessly, aimlessly just trying to build what is essentially wheels on a bit of wood that then rolls down a hill and off a cliff. And now look at these videos of people building like B-52 bombers. Like, why can't I be like these? I don't get it.
I'm basically brute forcing my way through it. Like, the little dude who you have to help him hold up his signs. Like I'm sure there's really sort of intricate, clever ways to do it. Whereas I'll just really stupidly like, stick that bit to there and that bit to there, and then just go, huh! And then like, by pure chance, basically. It's like it looks ugly, but I did it, and I often feel stupid. But on the flip side of that, when I think I did a shrine the other day where I had to get a ball from one side to the other down these rails, and the rails progressively get wider, and then it's just one rail, and I built a container, a box with a hook that took the ball over, and it was just like, it's so like I felt like a genius, but I was just like, obviously, it's taken me a long time to figure that out, but I was very pleased.
I've looked at a couple of guides a couple of times just when I just completely get stumped and think I don't even know what it's wanting me. Have you done the one where you've got to like hit something and it has this
and it
like an arm
hits
on
the
a
ball.
thing, and you have to hit a ball into a target? I didn't even know I had to hit that. I hadn't even like clocked that was there.
I thought I had to push
I was just
the
looking
thing
around the room
first.
like
I was trying to push that thing around. Yeah. So you definitely feel stupid, and it's a game where I might have said on this podcast before, or some of the others, like I don't really have time to spend 3 hours working out a shrine, so I give myself a window of opportunity, and then I can look it up, because this is a game I'll just be playing for like a year otherwise. But it is good, and like you say, it's kind of insane that like the mechanics, like ascend shouldn't work like in a game. The fact that you can just go through anything and the whole game just doesn't crash, like it's crazy that you can do that. So
clearly like loads while he's swimming in bricks or whatever, but it gets there in the end. I suppose one other slight criticism I would have of it that I felt is even more glaring in light of Elden Ring is that the combat just feels a little bit fiddly.
Oh god,
maybe that's just the button layout, but having jump as the button at the top and then the bottom button is sprint, I keep pressing the bottom button to jump, putting all my gear away, and then trying to remember that fuse is here on the it has stumped me a few times. It just doesn't feel quite as intuitive as I would like.
No, you're right, and you're definitely not the only person that I've seen say that. And the amount of times I'll accidentally throw a weapon or accidentally fuse something where I'm just trying to just swing my sword or something. It's basically all
trying
the time.
Yeah, like, oh, my sword's just broken, so now I'm going to try and change it. But, oh, no, I had my bow out, so now I have to hold the fact that I had a sword, but there is no sword there. Then press the button to go through the wheel, but then I accidentally press the D-pad instead of the right stick to select. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, it's a bit fiddly.
Yeah. Fiddly but fun. David, so you haven't started Tears of the Kingdom then. Is there anything else you're playing?
Not really. I've been working in Edinburgh this week, so I've not played a huge amount of games. A lot of Marvel Snap, a little bit of the Last of Us remake, and a bit of Bloodstained, but really nothing, to be honest.
Fair.
Yeah, we've both finished Bloodstained for the next The Winner Is You pod. I guess will be recorded next week at some point in time and be out for everybody there.
Nice. Wait, Bloodstain? So, wait, what is that? Quickly,
Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. It's the Kickstarter sort of Symphony of the Night.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
Redo by Koji Igarashi.
Nice. Cool, yeah.
Unbelievably good game.
Go and subscribe to A Winner Is You if you're not already. I realised I jumped ahead a little bit on my running order. David, we're going to move on to the main topics now, but we're going to start with the news, the Gears of War news. Why don't you take it away? Over to the Coghole.
Diving straight into the Coghole.
Let's get in there.
Absolutely no messing.
For the Coghole.
Yeah, we do.
We need like a theme tune.
So I guess probably the big news that everybody I guess it's not. That's over egging it. The news that everybody was probably aware of at this point is that Gears 5 is now streamable on GeForce Now, which is a sort of PC streaming platform. Is that right? So, and I guess this is the first time that Microsoft have dabbled in I was going to say the streaming market, but you can probably already stream Gears on GamePass. But this is, I suppose, they've moved into a different ecosystem to allow Microsoft to be streamed. Do you know I'm not sure how this works. Yeah. Do people buy the game via GeForce Now? How does this... how would one gain access to this?
Your GeForce Now subscription essentially allows you to rent a machine. So say you're a PC gamer, but your PC isn't powerful enough to run the game. You can then rent a more powerful machine and play it through the cloud. But you do need to own the game, I believe. So your Steam library or whatever it is, I don't think you can play everything, but GeForce Now... no, actually, no, I wonder...
So it's basically Stadia, but...
Yeah. So, because I was having a conversation with somebody I know that uses this a lot. Is it like the GamePass library? I'm just trying to check.
Isn't the Switch technically an NVIDIA machine?
It is.
Should be workable on there then, everybody. Hack it.
Yeah, that's how Nintendo have sort of gained access to some of their games. So is there not Hitman on Switch, and that's how that works?
A lot of the modern Resi games are all cloud versions, aren't they?
Yeah, lovely.
Which, as we all know, I would not be able to play.
Sorry, I was just trying to clarify, but either way, it's the first Xbox game to be on GeForce Now, which is obviously, the timing of it kind of links into some stuff that we're going to talk about today. So it is good, but it's good to see Gears in more places. GeForce Now and cloud.
What's the pricing like?
So there's 3 tiers. Let me find it. I don't think it's.
Oh, so sorry. So you're not paying specifically for Gears 5 then?
No. So basically, you're paying for the machine. you rent a machine in the cloud.
Okay. Okay. So then you just get access to the entire library and it's for a period of time or something.
Yeah. So this press release says members will be able to stream these Xbox PC hits purchased through Steam on PCs, Mac OS devices, Chromebooks, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So if you've got it on Steam,
you can stream it through there,
for example,
but your computer's not powerful enough. For free on GeForce Now, you can use it for 1 hour sessions. So no set limit on how many times you can start a new session in a day. I mean, that's kind of weird, but so you can use it for
save the session.
I don't know. I guess you have to make
play the whole game an hour at a time, just every day. Yeah,
and then you can pay like $26.99 a month, which gives you a premium rig, 6-hour session lengths, up to 1080p, up to 60 FPS, and then there's one that's like £90 a month, where you get access to a GeForce 3080 rig, faster servers, 8-hour sessions. Yeah, so it's kind of weird, but it's just a way for people with PC games who aren't able to upgrade the machine and maybe sample some new games, or whatever.
Interesting.
But yes, if you are...
It's a fairly niche market. I always think this is a fairly niche market. So it's someone
Seems
that's
that
got
way.
a powerful internet connection, can afford £27 a month, but not a new PC.
So for me, it's funny because like I use xCloud quite a lot. It's probably... It's like 50%. Like 50% is games I've downloaded and 50% is games in the cloud. So I'm fortunate enough to have decent internet where I can use it easily. The reason I use it a lot is I'm often... Well, first, a lot of stuff comes to GamePass that I just can't be bothered to install, but I want to try. So it's a good way to quickly try a game for an hour or so. But also my kid likes to play loads of different games, and rather than me install everything for him, basically any time he's playing stuff, it's through the cloud. Except for a couple of games that I know, like Fall Guys and stuff that he likes, that's installed constantly on the console. But so it is niche, but I definitely use it. It just, you need to make sure you've got good internet. So, Alex,
I've tried.
Have you tried to give it a go and it just does not work for you?
Oh no, sorry. I mean, I've tried to have good internet.
Oh, right.
I wrote to the local MPs after they won the local election, and they said apparently if I was to walk down the street, like across the road at the end of our street, then down there they can get Virgin Media at like over 1,000 meg.
It's insane, isn't it?
And I'm stuck here on 40 maximum. Like it's just over there.
Yeah.
Bureaucracy, man.
Cool. Cool. Thanks, David. Yes, go if you're listening to this and you haven't played Gears 5, but you're a PC user.
Why you listen to this?
Yeah, you want to try Gears 5? Go and subscribe to GeForce Now, I guess, or try it for free for an hour. Right, let's crack on. So as I said, there's lots of Xbox news that we're just going to kind of give our thoughts on, and we're going to start. David, a game came out recently, Redfall. Don't know if you've played this, but do you have any thoughts on this game or the situation with Xbox where this is a big hyped AAA game that's come out and has flopped, basically. It has terrible reviews. How do you feel? Do you, as an Xbox player, as a Game Pass subscriber, which I assume you are, do you have any thoughts on this whole sitch with Redfall?
I don't know whether this is a hot take or not, but this is the first time I've sort of detected within the sort of larger gaming community that there's been a bit of a shift in terms of enthusiasm for Game Pass. Like it's gone from it being quite or at least in the way I've absorbed it, a lot of times people will say, well, it's a Game Pass game, so you may, like, it's essentially free at the point of use. You may as well give it a try, to people going, oh, it's a Game Pass game, becoming a more of a negative thing, and people seeing it as something that is just like, it seems to be settling in that Microsoft can't seem to stick the landing of a game. And there seems to be two sort of arguments going on when it comes to Redfall. People saying it's not as bad as people are making out for it to be in. And then there's the other side of the coin of people saying it feels like a largely empty world that is sort of unfulfilled promises and just sort of just like a world that's not sort of populated and feels alive. I've not played it, so I can't comment on that. I guess my interest in this lies more on the perception of Game Pass, and I think Microsoft need a win soon because they've had so many sort of unstuck landers, and the worry is like the next big one on the horizon is Starfield, and I don't think there's any scenario in which this comes out as it's like I think Phil Spencer said it himself, this is not going to be an 11 out of 10 game. This is probably going to be another divisive game that the people that like this type of game are going to like it. It's going to have loads of bugs because Bethesda always have bugs in these types of games, and I don't know, I don't know, I'm kind of like walking myself around in circles here, but this is the first time I've sort of detected a bit of a turn in the tide, and people are just like, what is happening over there? Why are we not getting these games that we expected? You've played it, and I know you thought it was okay.
Yeah, it's by...
Do you think does it fulfill its potential? I don't think there's any chance, from what I've seen, that it does that.
No. I think the issue that we have here is, like you've said about a Game Pass, it's a Game Pass game, you should give it a try. The fact is, that's not how it's been sold to people. It's been hyped up as the big new AAA IP from Arcane with, support of Xbox. It was already in development when they, absorbed the studio, but they've put a lot behind it. They delayed it purposefully to say, we want it to be the best game it can be. It's coming. It's going to be like a flagship title, new IP. And then it came out and it just was not that. So a lot of people had high expectations and it didn't meet anywhere near those expectations. And then, as always happens, I think stuff does get a bit hyperbolic and people pile on and it gets a bit nuts. I did play it. I played it from start to finish, and I didn't expect to finish it. I thought I'll give it a go because it's, this is supposed to be their big game. Is it as bad as everybody's saying? Didn't think it was. It definitely felt cheap. I summed it up in a tweet where I think I said it just felt like an indie game, not a AAA game. And the fact is, if you want to play it and you don't have Game Pass, it's going to cost you 60 quid. And it's like,
that's something else.
And it's like, well, if I'd have paid 60 quid for it, then maybe I would have been fuming as well. But so the fact it's on Game Pass definitely softened the blow. I think a lot of the stuff online is just, as I say, people like to be mad, and they're now shifting it and saying, you've said Starfield is next, and this Starfield has to be a win and stuff like that. And I think from a perception point, Xbox could do with a win. I think the idea that Xbox don't put out good games is not true. It's just these AAA titles, and with what happened with Halo Infinite, which is another funny one because everyone loved that game and it reviewed incredibly well. Like, it reviewed really well. It was just the post-launch content that was kind of promised wasn't up to snuff, so it's fallen off.
I would also say when it comes to Halo, I think Alex and I spoke about it before, the actual act of playing the game has probably never been better than it was with Halo.
Completely agree.
The new Halo, and the addition of the grappling hook was a really welcome one, but again, in terms of world building, it felt
empty.
A bit empty, yeah. And again, this is another example of I really desperately want Microsoft to have a win here, and I'm struggling to think of the last time that they came along and absolutely knocked a title out of the park. I'm thinking of genuinely their most successful games of the last 5-6 years. I'm off the top of my head is probably Sea of Thieves, because that seems to be chugging along quietly massive.
So
maybe
it's funny you mentioned.
They had the critical win with Hi-Fi Rush,
did,
but that probably doesn't.
But again,
move
it's not a
the needle,
triple.
and they
Exactly.
completely shadow dropped it.
Yeah, and it's not a AAA game really. It's like a double.
I've tried it
game.
as well, and it's just like,
I think I've got most of the way through that game. It's good fun, but again, it's about serving that kind of mass expectation of the big games like Halo, like Gears, like Starfield.
Yeah.
See,
I saw an article that said something like, I can't remember who wrote it or where I saw it, but basically they were trying to push the narrative of like Game Pass games need to be Hi-Fi Rush and not Redfall. But I don't think that the Xbox general population wants that to be the case. I think they want it to be Redfall, just Redfall that's not wasting the talents of a developer by making them do a generic sort of looter shooter that's broken on launch.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned Sea of Thieves, David, because this is, again, they have a few games, and we've mentioned Hi-Fi Rush as well. Pentiment came out, which has got like incredible reviews, a game which is good fun, but it's just not. These games aren't for everyone, and it's not gonna support, I guess, their plan going forward. They need the big mass appeal ones. As much as people don't want to admit it, Fallout 76 has a huge player base and is a hugely healthy game. It's a game that I don't play as much these days, but Elder Scrolls Online as well is another game that is now owned by Xbox. These games, they do have, and you have access to them on Game Pass. There's a lot in there that they're offering.
You don't think it's a certain amount of this discussion that we're having that was all about perception? I mean, we look at how much damage perception can do. We look at the launch of the Xbox One, where people sort of the perception incorrectly was that you had to be always online to play that console, and that does, rightly or wrongly, perception does damage. And I feel like in terms of the big game space, Microsoft is losing the perception battle at the moment.
Yeah,
they actually outright made it that way at first until they backed down on it. So yeah. But I think this is interesting what David was saying about Game Pass's reputation because of this, and I think that's a really like a salient point to make, because I think if you look at it objectively, Game Pass is fantastic.
Yeah.
It has an incredible library, and it pays a lot of attention to backwards compatibility, which not enough companies are doing, and the industry itself is not doing. And that I will always champion it because of those types of things, and the fact that obviously you can say on paper every new release that we bring out through a Microsoft Studio is on there day one, which that perception is great until you delve down into what's actually coming out from that, and then it becomes less value, and people, that's when they start thinking, well, it's all well and good saying everything that you make comes out day one, but if it's all lame, then yes, PlayStation aren't giving us their day one games, but their day one games are pissing all over yours, and they're worth therefore paying for.
Totally agree with you. It's the first time I've ever, and I'm not anywhere near there yet, but it's the first time it's ever crossed my mind where I've gone, am I actually playing enough of these games to make it value for money for me?
That's like early days Game Pass, like thinking, isn't it? Oh yeah, look at all these games. I ain't even going to play any of them. They're all just really old and shit. Well, now it became like they're a nice to have now because you were getting the new ones as well. But
it's the exact reason I don't have the PlayStation version of this, because I looked at the list and thought, well, there's like four games max a year, maybe probably less. Not in of those 4 games, maybe one of them is going to be on this service. I'm just not going to get my money's worth. So there's maybe all these games I can play, but if I'm not playing them, then what's the point?
Yeah.
It's good for us because we want to play Gears.
Yeah, it is. And I do find myself, because I have the subscription, I find myself playing games that I wouldn't normally play. To force the value out of it, which is like a weird way to look at it. But I mentioned playing games with my kid as well. Like it's amazing
Great
for that. Like games I would never buy. But he gets to play everything, so that it pays for itself. In a big way. So. Yeah, it depends how you look at it, but you are completely right that you can't be selling the day one titles that are going to be on there if they're going to be all Redfalls. I don't think they will be. I think looking ahead with Starfield, I'm incredibly positive about, and sort of, I guess I have a good feeling about Starfield. I think it is going to be hilarious when it comes out, and it inevitably will have bugs, and I'll just be like, I've been playing Fallout and Bethesda games for years, and they all have bugs. It's kind of expected, but if it doesn't have that polish, that perception thing is going to be an issue, like you say.
With Starfield for me, it depends on the type of bugs, because I've kind of softened my stance on this over the years. I think I've ranted to Alex since time immemorial about how it annoys me that Bethesda can't seem to release a game that's broken, but I think I'm slightly like less severe on that now, and that I think, to be fair, they are probably doing something that no other developers do, and you can interact with just about everything, whether it's like a spoon on a shelf or anything. Like, I think of course there's going to be bugs with those things. I can take a certain amount of bugs. It's the sort of bugs that I think are unacceptable, like how Skyrim launched on PS3, for example. There was that memory leak that basically they released a little like addendum, like press release saying make sure that you're not, there was like, make sure you're putting stuff in boxes rather than dropping it on the floor and stuff like that, and I was just like, no, just make your game work, for goodness sakes. Like,
fundamental issues.
That's unacceptable. But the funny stuff is to be expected with that type of game, I think, and largely can be overlooked as long as they're not so intrusive that they take over the experience. I was thinking though, like, and maybe I am being too harsh, but I'm trying to think, like, in a world where the PlayStation seem to be launching first-party games that seem to be knocking out of the park. Whether it's, I'm not fully convinced they're necessarily for me, because they seem to be doing the Ubisoft turning all the same game. But
yeah, they are a little bit.
They review very, very well. They're highly polished, and there's a massive segment of people that think they're fantastic. Can you think of the last time Microsoft released a big budget AAA game that was great without caveat? So, like, we've spoken about Halo, that was great, caveat, the world feels empty, and they've not properly supported it. We even spoke about Gears 5?
Same sort
great
of thing.
Game, but the open world bit felt a bit tacked on and a bit unnecessary. Like, I can't remember, and I think I may be just blanking on it, but I can't remember the last maybe it's the Forza games.
Probably has. I was about to say it has to be Forza Horizon, I guess, or Forza Motorsport. And are they really great, or are they just very good?
Peaked. They're just like variations of the same thing. I mean, they can't even get their sort of mainline Forza game out at the moment for some reason.
Yeah, there's still no release date for that, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm looking here actually. I was trying to look for like big games coming to Game Pass this year, and I guess you've got. I don't think Exo Primal counts. Starfield, obviously, Forza Motorsport. They have got, and then in the unknown area, they've got things like Hellblade 2, which I wasn't massive on the first Hellblade. Stalker 2, maybe
to me as well, rather than AAA.
Yeah, Fable, of course, which could be dog shit. We don't know. And then I guess the big one, really, that they've got, ironically, is probably Hollow Knight 2, isn't it? Silksong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the big get that they've got for this year, but that has no release date either.
And again, but games like that, does that even have that mass appeal as something like a Bethesda game will or a Halo or something? It does not. It does, it's a fantastic game.
It probably has more of a guarantee that it'll be good.
Yeah, well,
than those ones do.
Yeah,
but it's not going to move that needle that they want moving.
Yeah, it's difficult to think. I mean, in Gears 5, you mentioned, it definitely had those caveats, despite how amazing of a game it was, and that's something we're going to dive into big in the future. Multiplayer had issues at launch as well, but it was sorted. But thinking back, I don't know. I mean, it's difficult thinking on the spot of an Xbox owned, one, not something that even that they've acquired.
It probably is Hi-Fi Rush, but again, that's not a massive AAA game. But that's probably the last game that studio's put out that has been universally thought of as great without a caveat. Yeah. And of course, my caveat would be if you can handle that kind of sophomoric shitty humour while playing a game, then yes, it's probably great. But that would be my caveat, because it turned me off immediately. I just found it really annoying. The music was annoying. The guy was annoying. Is
that us getting old? Yeah. I mean, I think about that sometimes.
Yeah, well, no, I think that's old people trying to be young.
There is that. They're trying
to make him be like in every scene. It's like that's just going to make me want to punch this dude.
Yeah, there's
what's that game that was like? Because that's how, and I never played it for long. I wish I'd played it more. It was like a Tony Hawk. It reminded me of a Tony Hawk game, but you sort of grinded about on your feet, on your little shoes, and the story was like there was like someone drank an energy drink and everyone turned into zombies.
Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I wonder what the humour would be like in that game now.
It was bad then.
Yeah. Was
it
bad?
Be even worse now.
Yeah,
that was the big caveat with that game. I couldn't handle it. It was so insufferable. I just thought, as fun as this is, these people are garbage.
Yes. It's, as I say, they do have big games on the horizon. It's just it's just interesting to kind of get you guys' thoughts on it.
Where is that one set? Sorry,
Sunset Overdrive.
The new one. No. Where's the new Forza Horizon?
Mexico.
No, that was the last one.
Oh. Are you talking the current one or the no?
The one that's coming out.
The one that's coming out
is the proper mainline one, so it's a motorsport one.
Yeah.
I thought they'd already said the Horizon was coming and where it was. So I just dreamt that.
Maybe they have. Maybe not that I've seen.
I'm not aware of it. Yeah.
I mean,
it's going to be 6, isn't it?
It will be 6.
No, they've not confirmed where it's going to be. Yeah. My mistake.
Sydney is.
Do you... Alex, do you have any thoughts on the merger that's happening or not happening, that's up and down? Is this a good thing?
Has there been any... what's the latest news on this?
So basically,
is the latest thing still that CMA
where we
nonsense,
stand
where some
is...
dickhead in committee went, you know what? I don't care if this is a global merger. This UK politician says, no.
Yeah.
No, you can't do it.
Based on... the CMA blocked it based on competition risks in cloud gaming, which is just kind of hilarious. But and I'm not going to
in a country where we have to pay a TV license to the BBC. All right, let's not monopolise games, shall we? Jesus Louise. I mean, I don't actually care. The only reason I would actually want this merger to happen is that somebody makes Tony Hawk 3 and 4 remake. Yeah. But
so that's the only reason
I don't care about Call of Duty.
I think it bodes better for actually getting to see some of Activision's back catalogue, because I think it's in Microsoft's interest to actually mobilise some of these IP in a way that Activision don't care, because they can't just Call of Duty everything and run it into the ground like they do with Call of Duty and Guitar Hero and stuff. Just like get that car going and ram it at the wall as fast as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I mainly care outside of that, just from like a sort of a justice standpoint. Like, it's just nonsense.
Yeah, it is nonsense.
Sony have outright said I don't want your merger to happen. That's why I'm going to complain about it. I don't actually care.
Yeah.
Xbox have done everything that they possibly can do to satiate any worries or like negative feelings by saying, yes, you can still have all these games. Don't worry. We're not going to with them.
Yeah.
And then, what was it, last month? Sony got like 10 members of Congress come out and say they're basically violating a trust agreement between the US and Japan by dicking over Xbox in Japan by like charging more for their games and like keeping they're paying money, aren't they, to developers to keep things exclusive. They're just doing all these underhanded tactics that they're saying Microsoft might do, which Microsoft have already come out and like negated by saying we aren't going to do that. Sony's actively doing it in Japan right now, and yet it's still, I just don't get it. That's what annoys me, is it makes no sense. There's no real reason this should be blocked, and it's not going to kill the games industry. It just it feels like no
everyone that works in the games industry and most people that play games, you know, in game studios, people involved at studios are coming out saying this needs to happen, it will be good, and then the only people, like you say, that are saying it's not good are Jim Ryan at Sony and the CMA. Jim Ryan's from the UK as well. I'm sure there's some connections going on there. But Sony.
It was quite funny that Microsoft were in London for a meeting in Downing Street the very week that they got blocked by CMA. That must have been the most awkward thing ever.
And that's, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I tend to follow business quite a lot, and I've been called a console warrior before, but it's not who I am. Like I am a consumer warrior. That's what I've called myself, and I think people should kind of the hypocrisy and stuff that you've mentioned is there for all to see, but for some reason people can't call it. And I would call it out with Microsoft. Things like this, they should be analysed and it should be scrutinised, of course. But I think anyone with
absolutely it should.
I think I totally agree with you. I'd like to try to throw a little bit of balance in there. So if I'm remembering / getting this correctly, the reason the CMA have blocked it was based not on nothing except the anti-competition that they would be worried about in terms of the streaming market.
Yeah.
A streaming market that doesn't really exist. No. But to try
and also, what was it? Cloud? You don't want to monopolize cloud gaming. Do they know what the cloud is? I mean, it's infinite, right? I could make a cloud streaming platform if I had the money for it. It's not going to monopolize anything in there.
Yeah, so that was one with the European Commission, is that what they've called it? They did have a caveat saying that was something they were concerned about. So it's not like the UK are just screaming about something that nobody else is talking about. So the Europeans are also worried about these things, but I think the Europeans are maybe savvy enough to see that this is not a large enough market yet. No. I don't see anything to suggest that this is going to kill that market.
No.
It's like there's other big players in the market.
Someone's just going to do it very well.
We've just been speaking about GeForce Now, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
That's another this is not that they're not monopolizing this, and the Activision. I don't see how the Activision merger really affects this overly, and I guess every other country would agree apart from the UK.
Surely Stadia tried to monopolise the cloud gaming market and they completely failed because they did it poorly.
Yeah, because they had a terrible business
So now someone's
model.
coming along with the promise of, we actually know how to do this. We can probably do this way better because we're Microsoft, which they were anyway. Yeah. You've already allowed Microsoft to completely monopolise the PC operating system background for 40 years? Yeah. And now you're worried because they've got Call of Duty that the games are going to implode. Okay.
Yeah, it's really, just from this kind of standpoint of us living in the UK as well, it's disappointing because our government claims to want us to become...
We didn't vote for that, damn it.
Yeah, to become like a Silicon Valley of,
that's
stuff,
right.
because we have less regulation now because of after Brexit, and it's just and now then we've got this, and it's just going to again put more businesses off. There's other businesses that want to move out of the UK because it's just terrible to do business here. This isn't good, and so it's just more things going backwards and backwards, and at the end of the day we're the people that are going to get screwed over. But it's not over. The deal with Europe, David, you mentioned the European Commission. They flagged the cloud gaming, but then mentioned because all these concessions that Microsoft have done show that they're willing to partner, and it's just And what's funny is cloud gaming,
because they have to, because they're losing.
Yeah,
Microsoft have to do that.
And cloud gaming is something, as I say, I use quite a lot and I think is good. But with the way things are going now with the release of like Steam Deck and the Asus ROG Ally and stuff, it's like it's going to become less of a thing where it's like, oh, maybe cloud gaming is the way to go to get these games in your hands. Now it's like, no, you don't. Like, this tech is just advancing so quick. You're going to have an Xbox Series S in your hands in the next couple of years. Like, it's so you don't need cloud gaming. So it's always going to remain kind of niche, and it's just a small part of the market. And yeah, it's kind of crazy to me. And you mentioned the Tony Hawk's games and stuff, and that's good. It's for lots of people. It's going to come down to what games they want to see, but also, I think it would be good for a culture change at a place like Activision and Blizzard. We've heard
I completely
all
agree.
the stories, and yeah, I think maybe it's time somebody kind of cleaned up in there. So, yeah.
You don't hear a lot of that coming out of Xbox, do you?
No.
There's a terrible, toxic workplace culture. They're not led by a man like Bobby Kotick, who would, I assume, leave if they merged with his even more millions.
Yeah.
It's just what rankles me is that that we've got our government effectively telling people you're going to wreck cloud gaming for everyone when they haven't actually focused on getting an infrastructure in this country where it's actually a viable option anyway.
Yeah.
I cannot play
you
cloud
gaming.
Gaming.
Be able to, yeah.
So
it's a joke.
How about you monopolize it for this country so I can actually use it?
Yes, let's move on from the merger. And coming up in June, we have the showcase. We have the Xbox showcase. Xbox and Bethesda. So this is on June 12th, I think. Any predictions, David? What would you like to see at something like this? So recently, earlier in the year, I think it was, we had the developer showcase for Xbox, which everyone quite enjoyed and said it was really good, how they focused on the studios, and it was really well put together. I like that kind of stuff. But this is the, essentially, E3, which is now dead, and the companies like Xbox and PlayStation doing their own showcases online, and this is Xbox's one coming up. Sony are also doing one next week, I think, so there's going to be probably some Sony stuff there, but we're going to focus on the Xbox one. What would you like to see after all this stuff we're talking about, the flop of Redfall? Is there anything you're excited about or predictions for the showcase?
I mean, one of my favourite RPG franchises is Fable, so I'd love to see what's happening with that. Mm-hmm. That would be like my bucket list, what I want to see. But I guess just I just want to come away from this feeling like Microsoft actually have all this in hand. Like we've spoken about, they've slipped in a few bananas now that I think there's enough questions to ask questions about their development cycles. And I just want to feel like these franchises and IPs that they've got are in safer hands than it maybe feels at the moment. So I just want them to steady the ship a little bit. Would be nice for me. That's kind of what I would hope to come away from.
Yeah, I think they definitely need, like I say, it'd be nice for them to have a win. I think they're probably very, very aware that this needs to be managed carefully, this showcase that's coming up. And as I said, there's lots of things on the horizon to get excited about, and I don't want to see big empty promises of like all these games are going to come out in the next 12 months and then like none of them do, which is basically what happened before. I don't want to see a bunch of CG trailers for stuff that's 7 years away. You said Fable.
I don't ever want to see CG trailers for anything.
No,
ever.
No.
There was just one for Mortal Kombat as well, wasn't there? And it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's awesome, but that's not
what Mortal Kombat 1.
I was like, that's not the game though, is it? It's just like, yeah. It's.
Do you know what? Also, another thing you're talking about CG trailers. The other thing that really is starting to wind me up is the trailer reveal for a trailer. It's like, here's a trailer, so you can get hype for an upcoming trailer. It's like, go away, man! Stop this. We're about to get the trailer to get hype for a trailer of a trailer.
But in terms of stuff I'd like to see, I mean, I'd obviously like to see something for Gears of War. I don't think we're going to. I mean, from what I understand, development on Gears of War, like Coalition were recruiting kind of recently, earlier in the year. So I still think Gears 6 is very, very far away.
Feels it.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember if we talked about this. I don't think we talked about this on the podcast, but the voice actor for JD said he's heard nothing about Gears 6. And it's just like, okay, he might just be saying that, but he was saying, like, this is not an NDA thing. I've heard nothing. I don't know what they're going to do. So I think it's either still very, very early in production, or he's not going to be in Gear 6, which seems unlikely. So I would like to see Gears of War stuff. I think with the way stuff is going, and we're going to round up with the question about the collection on this, I just think it would be nice to not, because they've been quiet for a while, the Coalition. I think let's have a confirmation that stuff is on the way. I don't want to see a CG trailer, but it would be good to know that it's coming, and I think that's all they need to do.
Do you think they?
Yeah, you wouldn't need a CG trailer for that. Just say it.
Do you think they lean into this handheld?
Do we think what? Sorry.
Do you think they show more of this handheld that they've been releasing press?
The ROG Ally.
Yeah, that's it. I couldn't remember what
it's an Asus product. I mean, they're kind of marketing it that you can play GamePass on it, but why Xbox would want to...
Yeah, well, I saw Xbox release put out a press release about it.
Yeah, I guess it's the best way.
They're backing it in some way.
Yeah, it's the best way to currently play Game Pass on the go. Which you can play it on the Steam Deck, I think, but you have to kind of fudge it.
You've got to do some hoop jumping. Yeah. Got to sideload Windows onto it, I think.
Yeah. Excuse me. But what else do we have coming up? Obviously, there's the Starfield thing I am excited about. I don't know about you two, but I am excited for Starfield. I mean, it looks good. It's, I'm a Bethesda game enjoyer. It looks right up my street. I would like...
Avowed. I mean, if you're talking about games that are like that, I'm looking forward to seeing that, because that's Obsidian's next RPG, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'd quite like to see more about that.
There's... Avowed definitely, but I just think maybe some release dates on these games, like the next Motorsport and Hellblade and stuff. I'm not really into Hellblade, but again, it looks good.
Me neither.
It's to just know this stuff is coming would be good. One thing I do predict, and this is something I do think we will see, is a trailer for the Fallout TV show, which I know is not a game, but for those listening to this, I do have a Fallout podcast, which I talk about Fallout a lot on, but I wanted to get this in here as well. I think it would be crazy to me if this showcase passes, because the show is pretty... I think it's wrapped. I think it's been wrapped for a little while. We don't have a release date. I think we're expecting maybe the end of this year or the start of probably early next year. But I think this would be an awesome time to, in terms of, again, perception, optics, all that stuff, get people excited. Let's finally take a look at that Fallout TV show coming off the back of the success of Last of Us. Hopefully it's good and they've got something good to show off, but I'd really like to see that.
Yeah.
Alex, any predictions or thoughts or hopes and dreams for the showcase?
A semi-realistic hope would be that we find that Perfect Dark is okay and is back on track to be released at some point, because the initiative, the developer behind it, was supposed to be this absolute super team of the best that Microsoft had to use, and then that was 2020 that I think we first heard about that, and we've heard basically nothing since then. It was apparently supposed to be in trouble as well, so I really want to see that that's healthy and coming back. And if I had to, the most obvious thing that's not going to happen that I would love to happen is that they just announce that Scalebound's come back. We're really sorry we cancelled this. Get back on your dragons in the Platinum game, please. Here we go. I would absolutely lose my shit if they said, sorry about that, we are going to make Scalebound after all. But just that and a release. We've got a release date for Starfield? We do, don't we? Yeah, I just want to see some more of that.
I think.
Maybe a release date for Stalker 2 as well.
Now that game obviously looks...
heavily delayed because of the war.
Yeah,
but
it looks incredible, and I was excited for that. I mean, who knows at this rate? I think I'm just kind of okay, guys, you do what you got to do with that, I suppose, but we might be waiting for a while, I think.
Maybe a bit more on the Indiana Jones game.
Yeah, see, I'm not really, I feel because obviously Sony has, all the Marvel stuff that they're kind of people love, everyone's hyped for the new Spider-Man and hyped for Wolverine game, and then it feels to me like the Indiana Jones game was maybe Xbox's answer to that, but I just not that into
probably
it.
Seems to be trying to be their answer to Uncharted, right?
I was about to say it's an Uncharted game, right? Because that's what Uncharted is Indiana Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
There was an Indiana Jones in the OG Xbox that was great.
I've heard about that, yeah.
So
we might have talked about it
on
potential. One of the Winner Review shows, actually.
I think we did.
Yeah,
we talked about it on Video Game Hall of Fame, but yeah.
I think some surprises would be good. I think with this Sony showcase coming up, there's probably going to be a lot of surprises there. Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake is apparently real and happening, and there was some news floating around that it's going to be Sony exclusive. Konami are already doing a 12-month timed exclusive for Silent Hill 2.
Sony exclusive? What? You can't do things like that. Sorry. What's next? Call of Duty exclusive to... Oh, no, that isn't going to happen.
Konami, who are apparently back in the business of making games, have an 12-month agreement for Silent Hill 2.
Another company I don't trust until they show me they deserve it.
But then it's coming... It's sort of news... Rumours, it's not leaks, it's just rumours, really. It's like this Metal Gear Solid 3 remake is coming. That's potentially going to be another 12-month exclusive. I mean, if this keeps happening, again, it's not going to be good for Xbox, so they're going to need some big surprises at this showcase to get people excited. I think Gears of War is a way they could do that. Through all these L's, as the kids say, that Xbox has been taking recently, do they need the W, as David has said? Like, David, we did touch on it in episode 1, but let's talk about it a bit more now. With this showcase coming up and the looking ahead for the Xbox, do you think a Gears of War collection or a Marcus Fenix collection that it's been dubbed is something they could do with right now?
Yeah, surely. I mean, I think that's one thing that correct me if I'm wrong, but whenever Microsoft have done like a remake / remaster / collection, they've largely nailed it. So yeah, I think this is something that they could do, and they would do a really good job. When Alex and I were playing the OG Gears of War fairly recently for the Energy podcast, it's quite stark, because in my mind the Gears of War Ultimate I was like, oh, that's roughly what Gears of War looked like, and I went back and played the OG Gears of War, and it does not look like that. So yeah, it would be nice for them to go back and really just go through these games, because these games are awesome. And let's face it, they're Xbox 360 era now. That's as much as I hate to admit it, that is quickly, if not already, approaching retro game period.
Oh, it is retro. I think if support ends for it, you can consider it retro, right? And there's no support.
Okay. For yeah, it just hurts me to actually admit that, because that was...
The store's still open.
Oh, is it? Okay. Fair.
Apparently.
So yeah, like an opportunity for a bunch of people that were maybe too young or missed those games now at that point to re-experience them, and experience them in a way that doesn't want to make their eyes cry would be lovely. And I just think it'd be great. These are amazing games.
We prefer if it makes other things cry, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if you know you've got a big game.
They hold up well, and it's just something they could do to just sort of bring this sort of trilogy together in a way that would just be a nice collection, right?
Yeah,
an Xbox. If you need hype men,
we're right here.
You want anyone to hype it?
Let's
We've
go.
been sitting here. Come on.
It's funny, because for a while I was quite like take it or leave it. Like when I peripherally was sort of looking at the fandom online for Gears of War, I'd see people calling for this over the last few years, and I was like, we don't really need it. I was like, because I really liked the original games, and they all had like FPS boosts and some resolution boosts as well. I was like, they look really good. Yeah. Like, we don't need it. Like, it's not really, and I didn't really care that much. However, there is something to be said about. There's a couple of things to be said. One is PC. So 2 and 3 and Judgment aren't on PC, and a lot of people have migrated to PC, and they really want Gears on PC. So a collection would do that. Would also like.
There's also that missing content, isn't there? So Gears 1 on PC has that.
That was re-implemented into the Ultimate Edition.
Has it been added?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did get that eventually on console. But yeah, so PC players are without 2, 3, and Judgment, and like what the Master Chief Collection did, it basically has like a consolidation for the multiplayer. So everyone can all play them together and stuff like that. So that is something that is a big reason to do it. And then also, I mean, I'm very back and forth on the idea of like how you should use your resources, and like with remakes, it's like maybe don't do remakes if they're not needed, and instead use those resources on new things and sort of moving forward. However, this year alone, we have seen Dead Space, Metroid Prime, and Resident Evil 4. Have all Dead Space not quite as well, but was very well received. But Metroid Prime and Resident Evil 4 have sold incredibly well. They are huge wins for the studios, the platforms, the fan bases. I just think in a remake is like, it's an easy win, and I think even if you weren't planning on doing it before Coalition, I think maybe down tools on other stuff and do this collection, or I guess maybe have someone else
Capcom
do it.
have shown that there's a workable model for doing that alongside something else concurrently, a new version and a remade version.
Yeah.
Obviously, they have a very talented team working on both of those parts of their series, but it's not impossible for one studio to do two types of game at once.
Definitely, and I just think it would get some good faith back, and I would absolutely play
Get the multiplayer servers back up and proper and like filled up with people again would be bloody lovely.
I think that's one of the big selling points, and it's again something that I love playing the multiplayer. Some people don't, and some people just focus on the campaign. But I think there's almost no reason not to do it at the moment. I think it would now. Coming to Game Pass, it's like people aren't going to buy it. It's going to be subscribed to. So what does that version look like? Is it, please don't load it with microtransactions and stuff. Just give somebody a nice thing, make people happy. There's a phrase in wrestling you might know, Alex, and it's send them home happy. And it thinks no matter what shit show you've been through while you're watching a wrestling pay-per-view or whatever, as long as that main event ends the right way and you get sent home happy,
as long as Roman Reigns doesn't win the Rumble, everybody's fine.
Exactly. You'll think it was the greatest show ever. And I think, I am an investor in Xbox's products and somebody that wants to feel like, that my money's being well spent. And I think if they were to give this to me, I'd be happy for another couple of years. So,
is the timing right for this? I'm trying to think, like, if you were trying to time this, do you time it alongside the TV show, or do you sort of leave that space for a new Gears?
So I guess you want to spread stuff out a little bit. You don't want to blow your load all in one go. The TV show is the movie and the TV show are a long way away.
Do we think any of those things are coming to the showcase or not? They've got nothing to show us.
I don't think so. I mean, we had the news that John Space was brought on board as a writer, so the movie is still in writing phase.
True.
So we know it's coming. Yeah. It's going to be at least a year before we see anything from that. The animated series, again, I just think it's probably in production, but I don't think we're going to see anything. But give us something for the games.
I think it's wasted time if you delay the game to coincide with one of these. It's just wasted time that you haven't brought it out.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think along, because the Last of Us TV show came alongside the remake. I know the remake had issues, but the Last of Us remake coming to PC, for example, they do time these things alongside each other in some ways.
Seems to be the way.
Just trying to think if this is the time for it, or if they would try to get into their heads, basically, or if they would look at this and wonder if they should hold it for another time. I don't know.
Yeah. Alex, did you have any?
I'd say you want to fill a gap in the Gears calendar. I would have suggested.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a big gap for years now, right?
Exactly. So why not fill it now and then get some hype, like leading up to when you're going to talk about the rest of these things.
Actually remind people that Gears exists would be nice. Yeah.
And how great it was. The first three. There you go. If you want a reminder of why the series should be worth your time. Yeah. Or you've never played it before and you want a valid way, do that.
Yeah, nostalgia is a big money maker, and I think it's just an easy win. Alex, did you have any more thoughts about a collection?
Not really. Yeah. I think if they can do the 2 and 3 the way that they did Gears Ultimate, it should be great. They have done so much for Gears 5 from Xbox One to Series X. It's an incredible technological achievement in sort of remastering it, kind of, or even just basically just updating it for a new current generation. They've shown it so much love. If they could do anything close to that with 2 and 3, you've surely got a hit on your hands, especially through Game Pass, which, as we've spent a lot of time talking about today, is kind of languishing in lacking big things for to draw people in
2021 now. Game Pass, I think it peaked in 2021 and it's kind of been a bit downhill since then, but and like as I say, because Gears 6 is so far away, obviously and they're going to be experimenting with Unreal, whether a collection would be on the new Unreal, and it gives them a chance, I guess, to even sort of test the water with that, and and so that Gears 6 ends up being a better game for it. So I've definitely come around where I was like, I didn't really care before. I didn't think it was needed. Now I'm like, not only do I think is it needed for, not only do I want it as a Gears of War fan, I think Xbox does need it. I just think as fickle as it is, whereas we know Xbox has lots of good games, but It's about what hits those headlines and what has that mass appeal, which is kind of funny to say because Gears is slightly niche, but it would be really, really good for perception if they could say, yeah, this is coming out this year or something like that. It's in a couple of months.
2 and 3 is when Gears was mass appeal.
Yeah.
So it may be niche now, but those were the mass appeal games.
Yeah.
So use your heads.
Yeah.
Do the right thing.
Cool.
Speaking of wrestling, have you preloaded AEW Fight Forever yet?
You can preload it.
You can preload it.
What? When's that out? I have not.
The rumor is June 21st.
Wow. Interesting, because that's funny that it's out really soon, and I've seen nothing beyond like 30 seconds of gameplay. So
yeah, I personally think it's probably because they're about to give CM Punk his own TV show that they've now been like, it's all right, we don't have to take him out of the game, we don't have to take him off the box, just get it out. CM Punk's all right. We're all friends again.
Well, I don't know. There's been blow-ups.
They've separated them, haven't they? Basically, have you seen all of that stuff for the?
I have. I've been
the way that the logo looks exactly like Monday Nitro.
Yeah, it's obviously very purposeful. Yeah. Oh no, I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to check that out. So that's on Game Pass.
Even if that. No, that's been debunked. Apparently.
Oh, okay, fine.
It's not going to be.
I thought I heard a rumor. Yeah.
So, but I was able to preload it without paying anything because it doesn't even seem to have a price. But apparently, no, it is not coming directly to Game Pass, which is a shame. But I'd buy it anyway. I'm so desperate for a wrestling game that isn't WWE 2K.
Yeah.
Bling bling twat. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we'll have to do, or you'll have to do a Winner Is You episode that I can guest on for that. Because I'm not sure how we can...
I don't think David's that interested, are you?
Yeah, I'll fill in for David.
Do a spin-off.
Cool.
I've tried to get him to watch AEW enough times. I don't think playing the game without doing it is going to work.
Sometimes games are what gets people into things, though. So, yeah, there's hope.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, that about does it for today's episode. I mean, as I say, we have hopes and dreams for this showcase, but Coalition, if you're listening, give us all what we want. We want the collection. Lots of people want the collection. It would just be nice to go home happy and know that that's coming from the showcase. But yeah, going to be lots of surprises and good stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, hopefully.
Please do subscribe to the show on your podcast feed of choice, or subscribe on YouTube as well. Or better yet, why not do both? It really helps us out a lot. You can please give us a review on Spotify. No, a review on Apple, because you can't review on Spotify. Give us a rating on Spotify. And on YouTube, give the show a thumbs up. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. What are you looking forward to for the showcase? What do you think about a Gears of War Marcus Fenix collection? And we'd love to chat to you. You can come follow us on Twitter, Gears_Intel. You can follow us individually. I am K_D_B_. David is at DavidSmiley1. Alex is at SuperThrillX. And this has been Gears Intel. Until next time, remember the fallen. Boom.
Bye.